Hello Internet, DaliCodes here with another banging video of 20 views and no more subscribers. Anyway, I do this for fun, and I have not posted for the past 2 weeks because I have been extremely busy doing work, since this is just my hobby, doing YouTube. So for the past 2 weeks, I have been working on a pet project that combines beautifulsoup, Airflow, and fastapi to scrape data from the web and then save data into a PostgreSDB. Then after that, serve the data using an API, and the framework that I used for API is fastapi. The purpose of this project initially was to get the data from the internet, then save the data into a Postgres database, then share the data using an API, using fastapi, and then after that build a dashboard on top of this data. But I haven't gotten time to do this. So what I did was to create a database, then scrap the data from a website online, save the data periodically, and then serve the data using an API. So I have said that I scrap the data periodically, so I'm using also a technology called a framework called Airflow, which is used to schedule jobs. So I don't need to come every day and run the code, and then the code saves the data. So Airflow does that for us, and it is an open source tool. So this is the website that I have been scraping data from. It's called CoinMarketCap. Disclaimer: CoinMarketCap, this is for education purposes. I'm not using this to get money, and I'm not saving your data. After me releasing this video, I'm going to delete all the data. So I hope you will not come hunting for me because I'm playing with your data. Having that out of the way, so this is how the project is going to look like. So we scrape data from here, and then I have my repository here. Sorry, it's my most recent repository. So this repository contains data, contains the code for the project, and the project's purpose was to scrape the value of cryptocurrencies from a website, then store the data into a database, then serve the data using an API, and then after serving the data using an API, build a dashboard on top of it. So the last bit I never did that, but the rest I did, and this is how the code looks like. And then I didn't want myself to run the code every day, so I used Airflow to schedule the job so that the job runs every day and the data is stored in a database. So talking about Airflow, so I created Airflow tasks, 4 of them, and I put them in this format. Hopefully this will be clear. So I have a task that gets crypto server data. So this task here, there is a code behind it that calls for these pages. You know that this is a paginated page, because at the end here there is a page. You click here and then there is page 2. So the code behind the first task here is to get all the pages, and then after that save it onto the disk. And then the second task here is to get the pages that you saved onto the disk, the HTML pages, and then scrape them. It's more of cleaning. So you know that as you get the data from here, it comes with all this junk, and this. So the second task is a task that is used to clean, and it can only run when this task is successful. So after this task is done, this second task runs, and then after all the data is scraped, the clean data is saved as a CSV onto the disk. Then the third task will now run after this is successful, and the third task gets the CSV from the disk and loads it into a Postgres database. Then after that, there is the last task called run cleanup. Remember, I was saying that when this runs, this task has failed. There is something wrong. So now that when this one fails, these ones will not work. So these ones are in the state of upstream, but this one has failed. You can see the color coding here has failed. There is a problem where it has failed. I don't know why, but yeah, the whole thing works. I think maybe the server has just stopped them, or something wrong has gone. I can maybe try to look at why, but I didn't want this video to be yeah, so something wants to run before another. I think there is just something wrong with the code somewhere, which can be fixed. So the purpose of this: runs, gets the data, saves it onto the disk. Then after this one cleans the data, loads the data into your code, and then cleans it. Then this one here gets the clean data, puts it in the Postgres database. Then cleanup. So cleanup will come and remove this, remove the HTML files that are on the disk because we no longer need them, and perform most of the cleanup after everything is done and the data is into our database. So this task runs daily. That's why I created a DAG, directed acyclic graph. If you want to learn more about Airflow, you can just go to their documentation. So this is not a tutorial, but more of showing you what I have done. It's more of like a presentation. So we can look at this and we see that these tasks, they ran where it is green now, like on this date. All these tasks ran, but it is only these other dates that it failed. I think it's because the guys of the coin market cap might have identified that there is too much traffic that comes to them that is not valuable. Maybe that's why, but I don't know. Then after that, after the data goes to the database, I can show you the database here. Let me just pull the database up here. It's a Postgres database, and so crypto schema, crypto data. I put it in the crypto data schema, and then the table. So I have today's crypto, and the data itself that comes here, it's of this format. Let me look at the first 100 rows. So this is the format of the data that that is scraped: the coin, the value, and then the time when it was scraped. And that is what all I wanted from that site. So every day at midnight, all these tasks run, gets data from here, and then loads it into the database. Then after that, I wanted to serve this data using an API, and I created an API endpoint where someone can get that data, and we can try out this API endpoint here. And after trying it out, remember the query that we have put here, we are skipping the first row. We want only 100 from here, and this is what the result that it brings. Or if I had like put this in production, someone wanted a link, this is the link they would use, and you get, this is from the database, the table that I've just shown you. So that is what I have been working on for the past 2 weeks, and the code is all here in the in my repository, in my GitHub repository. The link is in the description if you want to look at the code. I can take you through the code for Airflow, I have, no, let me start with step by step, right? Sorry, let me start step by step. So the first thing I did was to create this file here, get server data. So get server data.py is a class, so it is a file. It's a file, a Python file that has only one class. The way I have learned how to code this here is to make sure that each class is in its own file, not to have more than one class in a file. So you find most of the classes here in one file. So this class here, its purpose is just to go to the server, that is the coin market cap, and get all the data. So you're seeing here I'm having a page which will be looping through the pages here. The docs is a list, so for each page that I get, I put it in a list, and then the URL is here, the URL. So you find that this code here is more generic, because you can now use it to scrape any other pages to get data from any other server, provided it is HTML, and save it. It's not necessarily that it has to work with CoinMarketCap, because you'll only need to pass in a URL, and you'll need to pass in the pages, and that's all. And then after that, it saves it somewhere. So this is the purpose of this code. Lots of the things are variables, because I've put all these links in my JSON, a JSON file. Then after that, we scrape a table. So we load the data that we, so the purpose of this is to get the data that we saved and then scrape it for coin name and coin value. So scraping this will mean that we load the data. So if you come here in the run, import server data, and import server data is here. We are opening the data that we saved to disk, and then we saved it as a pickle, so it is pickle.load. And then after saving it, we are going to load it here, and then after that we are going to scrape the data, scrape the server data. So scraping here is more of getting what we want, and there are functions and helper functions that here that is going to help us. So this function here, this class is more specific to the crypto data. It's not generic like the first one. And then after that, we save the data to disk, but it is a clean data. So we're going to save the CSV to disk. Then the last thing that we're going to do is to load the data into our database, and this is the class that loads the data into our database. So what majorly Airflow does is calls the first class, runs it, calls the second class, runs it, calls the third class, runs it, and if the first class fails, then the rest will not run. If the second class fails, then the rest will not run. And that is how I organized this project. So that is up to when we load. Then serving the data, before I go to serving the data, there is the directed acyclic graphs here. So I just created one DAG, and this is more of Airflow now, Airflow. And here what it does is just to create a DAG and then create the three tasks here. This is run server data, run get server data. So this one is the one that gets the server data, and you can see that I imported each class here. So there is get server data, that class, get crypto data, scrap crypto data, load data into DB, and clean up. They're all from the other classes that I have shown you, and each of them is a task here that is created. And then after that, I organize the task like this. This is a crypto, it is Airflow syntax for organizing the classes. Yeah, so I think I've gone so much about the data up to when the data goes into the DB. Then sharing the data, I share the data using fastapi, and these are the files. So I have my main.py is more of getting the data from the DB and then running and then sharing it through an API, and this is how I get it and sharing it. So I have files here. I have my models and I have my schema, and then I have database.py and CRUD. So CRUD is more of read write. I only have one function because I just want to get the data from the DB. The models define the tables, and I only have one table, so I just defined one table. Then the schema defines how the data should look like when you're serving it. So I have a base model, and then I have my table here, and this is how it should look. Should be a string, it should be a float, and should be a date time for that. Yeah, so this is how I organize my project, and then the output is here, the product, and then I also have the API. Yeah, so that is what has been keeping me busy for the past 2 weeks, and I'm happy that it's done. If you have more questions about the project, you can leave it in the comment. If you want a tutorial, you can like the video, provided we have some substantive or enough amount of likes, then I can do a tutorial for it if you want. And yeah, till the next video, have a great day.